What's up, you guys? So I'm right here on the beach in Ecuador, and it's really nice. I'm just sitting in front of the waves, and I'm just thinking, I'm thinking about my life. I'm thinking about, how it was in the U.S., living in the U.S., and all those years of being stressed out all the time and being frustrated about this and that. And I'm thinking about the things I'm frustrated about here, like the Wi-Fi and, like mosquitoes and things like that. And Andrew asked me a question this morning. He's like, are you ever going to be okay? And I was thinking to myself, I don't know. But what I can say is I'm more okay than I've ever been. And a big part of that is because I don't feel as financially stuck. And the thing is, I still feel financially stuck because my way of making money in the US, my rentals, it's not very stable. There's a lot that's going on right now. It's a lot of craziness. And I could lose my survival at any moment, but it's just not as stressful as it would have been if I was in the US, if I lost that and I was in the US. Because if I was in the US, everything would have been more expensive to deal with. If I would get sick or anything bad were to happen to me, it would have cost an arm and a leg to go to the doctor for even a checkup. And if shit hits the fan, it would have been just so much worse in the US. And just finding a place to live. Here, it's dude, I could literally just sleep on the beach. If I were to lose my survival and I can't pay the rent next month, I could sleep here. I could literally, this is a public beach and this public hammock. There's a swing. I'm sitting on a swing. I could literally just sleep here and no one would do anything because there isn't really a lot of police regulation around here, And I don't have to pay for health insurance, and I don't have to I would literally, that's all I would do. But you can't do that in the US. You can't sleep in the streets. Someone's gonna either try to mess with you or there's just so much bad things that could happen if I would have stayed in the US. And so already that pressure is lifted. But of course I don't feel comfortable with survival either, because the whole reason why I left was I didn't have a way to survive that was okay. So of course there's still the fear that I'm gonna lose everything in the US and I won't be able to survive. Of course there's that fear, and I don't really feel anyone taught me anything. I don't feel anyone really, because they don't know either. Nobody knows how to survive and feel safe. And so I don't really feel anyone gave me the tools that I need in order to take care of myself. It was always from my family, let's say, it's always marry a rich guy. And then from going out in the world, it was figure it out, get a job. And then I would keep getting fired. I got fired so many times because I'm not a good employee. But then it was okay, so everything has been, so my way of surviving has been just always figuring out ways on my own. And no one's had enough faith in me to invest in me as a person. So even my rentals with real estate, that was with my own money, it wasn't even money. I found a way to hack the system, which of course I'm going to teach you guys in my courses. And I'm going to have, I'm working on a few courses right now. I'm working on a book, and I'm really excited to share this stuff with you guys. But of course I have days when I'm so stressed out that I can't even work on this stuff. And I'm just worried about my basic day-to-day survival. And it's going to take a while until I've mastered it in the way that I think that I want to master it. But I'm really eager to show this stuff to you guys, because I just feel no one teaches this stuff. No one teaches you how to make money. No one teaches you how to do basic things like doing your taxes, but they expect you to be okay all the time. And if you're not okay, it's like, well, what's wrong with you? And that's very much how I felt in the US. I would just constantly walk around thinking, how is everyone okay? Have you just figured it all out? And they're like, well, if you're stressed out or you're anxious, you should probably go to see a psychiatrist and take some pills. And all my friends are on psychiatric pills from their doctor, because if you're not okay with your situation, or if you're worried, or if you don't know how to survive and you're worried about that, there must be something wrong with you. So you probably have like a mental illness or something, right? But I'm just really glad, I feel really lucky that I have this compass inside of me that says, you know what, if there's a feeling that's wrong, let's explore it. Let's think about why I'm feeling like this. Why do I feel anxious all the time? Why do I feel whatever? Well, maybe it's because I'm in a place that is bad for me. The US was not good for me. And the thing is, like, I feel really glad. I feel really glad that I had that personal internal compass that said, hey, Pardes, no, we're not gonna crawl in a hole and die. We're not gonna just become a victim of our situation. We're not gonna say, all right, this is my life, I guess. I'm gonna be a restaurant waitress forever, and I will barely be able to pay my rent or my mortgage or anything, but I won't ever bother trying to have kids, because you can't have kids when you don't have like a way to survive long term. So I could have just given into all that and then gotten on a bunch of prescription drugs paid for by some very, very overpriced health insurance, and called it a day and told my parents, sorry guys, I have a mental illness, which, this is just, I can't ever see you guys again because I have to be in this place forever taking these crazy pills. And I feel really lucky that I have that compass that drive inside of me that knows that I'm onto something. It knows what's good for me, and it knows to pursue it. And like, that's me. I feel proud of it. But the thing is that I don't think most people have that. I think most people think that there's something wrong with them. If you can't make it, like if you're just having issues, you're having issues trying to survive in the US, you're having issues with this and that, you're feeling down, a little down today, they just assume like, oh, this is probably some kind of like mental issue that I have, or a mental imbalance, because my life is fine, everything's fine, and it's just, I just have like a problem with myself for feeling this way. And especially women do this. I see women in the US all the time that are like, basically they're not in a good situation. Like, women do this more than men, but I see men doing it all the time too. It's not just a female thing, but I think women do it more, where they'll be like, oh, women are emotional, so like this is normal and fine, and I have to just get on birth control pills, or I have to get on, these lithium pills or whatever pills that, in order to control my feelings. And it's like, you shouldn't have to control your feelings in order to control. You can maybe control your reaction to things, like don't resort to violence, don't resort to yelling and screaming, don't be a bitch, don't be mean to people, don't project your negative feelings on the people around you, don't project it on your partner. If you're having a bad day, don't go and take it all out on your male partner. But also, like, don't try to erase the feelings, because the feelings are there to protect you. The feelings are there to let you know what is good for you and what is not good for you. If you're feeling bad in a situation, it's probably a collection of things that's bad for you in that situation, like kind of building up. Usually it's finances. If you don't feel secure financially, that's kind of like the underlying theme with everything. And like, nobody likes to think about money because especially in the US, there's this very guilt-driven mindset of like, oh, if you think about money, there's something wrong with you. You're evil, you're greedy, you're obsessed with money. Not everything's about money. And it comes from maybe a combination of guilt, but also like, you know, the US has been comfortable for so long, and people can't imagine the idea of things shifting and the US not being a place where people are comfortable. But you know what? In a lot of other countries, they're used to it. They're used to having economic crashes, downturns, ups and downs. So people don't really have this mentality as much of like, oh, if you're a hustler, then you're crazy, or you're like, you know, this, you're just greedy. You're like, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you fine? Everything's fine. It's like, no, not everything's fine. And in fact, most people that I'm talking to in the US are having a very hard time. And that could have been me. That could have been me times 10. Like, I would have been just so stressed out if I would have stayed there. And I just feel really lucky that I had this voice inside of me that said, no, Pardes, you're not crazy. You have to get out. And I want to be that for anybody that is feeling that way too. That is like, oh no, like, if you want to stay, then that's good. That's a, you know, it means you're comfortable and it's good. Like, I want you to be comfortable. But if you have this like screaming voice inside of you that's like, I want to get out, I'm feeling stressed out, you know? Because whatever situation you have doesn't feel very long term. And it's like that for everything. It could be also relationships. Maybe it feels like the person that you're with isn't going to be there for you long term, you know? And I could definitely tell if the person I'm with is long term, you know, and I feel really lucky for that, you know? In DC, I knew when the guys that I was dating were not very long term types of people. In the beginning, I got into the trap of like, oh, there's something wrong with me. I'm just being naggy. You know what I mean? There's something wrong with me for feeling this way. And I did actually go on prescription meds for a while in DC because I thought, oh, there's something wrong with me. And it was, you know, the relationships I was in, it didn't feel very long term. But as time went on, I realized, no, this isn't a problem with me. It's a problem with, it's just the people I was with weren't long-term types of people. They were sleeping around. They were like, you know, they didn't have their finances set up long-term, so they didn't feel long-term stable themselves. And so they were like kind of, you know, dating like a bunch of girls at the same time. And I realized that was the thing that if I stayed in DC, that was the thing that I was going to get a lot. And I'm very glad that I saw that and I got out of there, you know, because not everywhere in the world is like that. Not all men in the world are like sleeping with like 20 different girls at the same time. That's not everywhere. It's just in certain places in the world that are very transient, like Washington, D.C. is one of them. But it didn't mean that it was a problem with me, and it didn't mean it was a problem with them either. It just meant that I was in the wrong place, and there was something inside of me screaming and saying that I need to change my situation. So, this video is really just a validation for like anyone that is having these feelings or thoughts about wherever they are. And it might not even be a thought, it might just be a feeling. There's something inside of you that's wanting a change. Any kind of change, some kind of peace. You need to be at peace with yourself, but there's something inside of you that's nagging you. And you don't know what it is. What I'm telling you is that there's nothing wrong with you. That voice is real. And maybe it's a voice that is just scared, a child that is scared of the future, and you need to like nurture it. But whatever it is, you shouldn't ignore it because it's coming from a real place and it's coming from real thoughts. And you're not crazy. And so that's all I will say. And usually the other thing is that even if you are crazy, which you're not, even if you are crazy, these feelings and these thoughts are things that are catalysts for great change in the world. The people that make the best changes in their lives and improvements and are able to make the most money and most success, build the best families, are people with this kind of internal compass that know when something is wrong or when they need to make a direction change. So anyway, hope that was inspiring in some way, and I will see you guys in the next video.